Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, senators propose a 6-month suspension of fuel excise tax next year.
Nakita namin in the forecast, it will take 6 months before it will reach to a normalized level.
In the hopes this could lower prices of goods and temper inflation. Also, the joint oil and gas exploration with China moves forward.
We all agree that it will benefit our region and benefit Philippines, benefit China.
A country, therefore, that enters into a joint exploration necessarily gives up that part of its maritime entitlements.
The possibility of extending martial law in Mindanao.
We have already asked some religious and also some of the LGUs, but we need to assess further.
And is there an ongoing militarization of key government agencies? Senate Economic Affairs Committee Chairman Gatchalian joins us live. And later, how far can you go for love? This is not a fairy tale, but a real-life love story. Find out on today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Senators are now looking into the impact of suspending the excise tax on fuel products as part of the government's counter-inflationary measures. The prices of goods hit record highs in recent months with the latest inflation rate of 6.7%. But what will be the impact of suspending taxes on fuel products on other government projects? Also, the military takeover at the Customs Bureau, and should the country push through on its joint oil and gas exploration with China to address the country's energy needs? Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Committee on Economic Affairs Chair Sherwin Gatchalian. Senator, welcome again to the show. Always good to have you. So let's start with the letter dated October 9.
Okay.
17 senators signed this, all majority senators.
Yes.
Is it asking the president to suspend the excise tax for 2019 and 2020?
Well, the letter requested the president to suspend excise tax on fuel and preferably the entire year of 2019. Last week, nagkaroon kami ng hearing to talk about that further, and to analyze the fiscal implications as well as the impact on inflation. And it was disclosed during that hearing that the administration has already decided to suspend it at least first quarter of 2019. And the committee requested to extend it for 6 months because in our computation, because of the rapid pace of increase in prices in 2018, it will take 6 months to bring it down to a normal level. But the good news is the administration has already decided that in the first quarter of 2019, they will suspend the increase, yung additional 2 pesos on excise tax on fuel.
Whether or not Dubai crude on the Singapore Platts reaches $80 and above, regardless.
In the law, it's very clear, average of 3 months. If it will reach $80 for an average of 3 months, then they can suspend it. But I was looking at the pricing for this year. Tumama siya ng $80 for a few days, but not for 3 months.
Yeah.
And in the forecast for next year, crude oil prices will go down eventually, because of oversupply and weak growth. So, having seen that, the suspension is really to give reprieve, para makatulong rin sa mga kababayan natin na maka-adjust doon sa mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo na nakita natin in 2018.
Yeah,
so it's really a reprieve that the administration has decided to implement the coming 2019.
So it's sure, that's certain.
It's sure.
Coming from whom?
Coming from Yusek Carl Chua of the DOF, and we actually threw a lot of scenarios, and he also disclosed during the hearing na even though oil prices will go down in 2019, again, this reprieve is going to be given to our constituents.
Kahit na hindi umabot sa $80 per month
Kahit
for the
siya,
next 3 months.
At hindi siya abot next year.
Yeah. Well, just in case, sir, it doesn't matter whether below or above, siguradong wala na po.
Correct. Because this year really, ang bilis ng pagtaas, And yung pag-adjust ng tao, no? For example, for an ordinary driver of a jeep, no? Because he has to keep up with the increase in oil prices, umuutang siya, no? So hopefully itong binibigay natin na reprieve o ibibigay natin na 2019 suspension will help him, enable him to repay his debts to from his employment.
Senator, are you expecting what from the president? This is going to be an executive order for the non-increase in the 2019 excise taxes?
Well, it's very clear in the law na if it's an average of the past 3 months, then you can suspend. Automatic. No? Since hindi naman siya nag-average for 3 months at $80 per barrel, and it will never average in the next 3 months, then this needs congressional action because it's very clear in the law. If it's an average of the last 3 months for $80, then you can suspend. But since none of those conditions have been met, so it needs congressional action.
Exactly what? You need to file, both houses need to file?
Well, there are two modes, no? An ordinary law, meaning to amend the train law, or a joint resolution, which will be acted by both chambers.
So, why not do it already? Because from my understanding, sir, prior to your October 9 letter, a week before that, the 6 opposition senators already filed a resolution suspending this. So where are you in terms of, in the progress of, suspending it?
When we convene on November 12, then we will start talking about this already. We will probably talk about the joint resolution that was filed, or somebody can file again another resolution depending on the conditions set. No? So, for example, since the administration has already decided that the first quarter will be the suspension period, then that will be taken into account. We might amend the resolution that was submitted, or someone will pass a resolution that is more attuned to what the administration is thinking.
How was the resolution of the 6 opposition senators? Was that good enough?
I think it's good enough, no, in form, and it's good enough in what it intends to do. So again, we can talk about that. There's no prohibition for another senator to file another resolution. But the point of the matter there is there's a joint resolution that should be enacted by both chambers.
Okay, so that's where you're supposed to go by November 12. How long do you think this will take?
I think this will not take so long. No, I've seen joint resolution acted upon very quickly. No, I think we need only one hearing and then plenary action. Yan. So maybe 2 weeks at the most.
Do you have the support of the House of Representatives?
I think so. I think this is a very widely accepted proposal, and in fact, there's a clamor not only from the congressmen and from the senators, but also from our constituents.
In fact, when you look at it, when you look at the Department of Energy, I think it's the Department of Energy website. Last I looked, it was about, well, more or less 12 pesos increase in petroleum products from January.
Correct, of which about 275 came from excise tax.
Right.
So that means by removing excise tax, or the increase for next year, your aim is to slow down inflation. No? Inflation will not go down. It will not go negative, but you will slow down the pace so that our consumers, especially small and medium enterprises, mga malilit natin negosyante, they can keep up already and adjust. No? And a lot of them in 2018 borrowed, nangutang sila. Hopefully they can repay this in the first quarter or at least in the second quarter of next year. So
how much of an effect would this have on inflation if it is indeed suspended for 6 months?
Correct. At the very least, BSP projected about less than 0.2%.
0.2%, yeah.
So meaning if your target is 4.3, you reduce it by 0.2, that's 4.1.
Yeah.
But there's another law that is coming up. No? This is the rice tarification bill, in which it's a tool that will lower down the prices of rice. And if that bill gets enacted, which I think it will this coming year, it will reduce by another 0.7. So
malaki yun, 0.7.
Correct.
Yeah.
So hopefully by next year, with these two moves, the suspension of excise tax and the rice tarification bill, we will now see inflation between 3 to 4%.
I also read that the BSP said that if the average crude would be above 80 for a whole year, it's parang napakaliit na lang ng impact on inflation. Because if it is suspended indeed for 6 months, it's only 0.2%. It
Correct,
appears that
correct.
rice tarification would lower it by 0.7%.
0.7. It's a big amount, no?
Yeah.
It's a big amount because we all consume rice, no? And for our poor constituents, it's normally about 20% of their expenditure. So, malaking impact yan sa expenditure ng tao. So, by lowering down the price of rice, and they projected about, I think about 7 pesos at the very maximum, no? You can get a discount of 7 pesos from the retail price right now.
Yeah.
So that alone is about 20 to 30% already off the retail price.
But here's the thing, do we still need rice tarification? We had Secretary Manny Peñol yesterday and they implemented the suggested retail prices. He said bumababa na ang presyo ng bigas. NFA is also, he said, you know, actually meron siyang konting parinig sa mga nagsasabing i-abolish ang NFA. He says we still need the NFA. Do we still need rice tarification now?
The rice tarification, in effect, empowers the market to dictate supply and demand. No? So, what's happening right now kasi is government intervening. Tayo yung nagseset ng supply and demand. And normally, the forecast is not as accurate as we want. No? And that's why with this rice tarification, it's the market now that will come in and bring in supply. Preferably, cheap supply from the outside. So, it's a long-term solution. What's happening, the suggested retail price is actually a short-term to medium-term solution because government monitors and intervenes. But you can only monitor so much. No? With 3,000 retailers nationwide, how do you monitor 3,000 retailers nationwide? So it's really now the market that will come in and make sure that the market is very competitive. This will also enhance competition among the distributors and the retailers.
And the effect on the local farmers of rice tarification, sir?
There's a fund there, a support fund that will be given to the farmers, estimated about 10 billion pesos. And that support fund is meant to enhance and modernize and increase productivity of our rice farmers. So, actually, marami na tayong provinces right now, Pinky, that is considered competitive. We have about 60 to 70% of our rice-producing provinces are competitive na. Yung natitira nilang mga 30%, yun ang kailangan natin suportahan.
Okay, very quickly though, what about Train 2?
Train 2 is up for discussions, and we requested one of the most important issues that we need to resolve, and this will have to come from the DOLE, is the threat to employment. And that's what we requested from DOLE, to give us a study, a very deep analysis on the impact to employment, because that is the threat there. And we want to make sure that we cover or minimize that threat.
Do you think it'll be passed this year though, Train 2?
I think it can. No, I can't predict what my other colleagues will probably decide on, but definitely it can, because that's part of the whole package of the government.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the key elements to make our country competitive in terms of lowering down the corporate income tax.
But you just quickly, you said that you need a deeper analysis from the DOLE on this, on the kind of impact it would have on employment. I guess my question is this. You were once part, well, of Train 1 in the deliberations, and there were promises made by government on certain, promises that should have been fulfilled during Train 1 that you had said, together with other senators have said that were not fulfilled.
Okay.
How cautious are you in believing or supporting a DOLE study on Train 2?
That's why we will be not only relying on DOLE's research, but we will also invite other independent organizations such as the academe, such as economic researchers. We have to validate the data. And it's important right now that this bill will not create negative effects, especially to employment. Because this is the main threat. A lot of the companies that are enjoying these incentives are now under threat of pulling out or reducing employment. This is what we need to study.
Yeah.
No? And it's a non-negotiable, at least for me, that there will be reduction in employment because we need to boost employment, no? Not the other way around.
All right, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, a military takeover at the Customs Bureau and joint oil and gas exploration with China in addressing the country's energy needs. Senator Gatchalian weighs in after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senator Gatchalian. So during the break, we were talking about the plan. Well, Foreign Secretary of China was here, Wang Yi, and he talked about the possible joint oil and gas exploration in the South China Sea. We have that sought from yesterday's press conference. It's better that we listen to exactly what the Foreign Affairs Secretary said.
China is also ready to further discuss with the Philippines about the joint development of oil and gas in the South China Sea to solve differences and pursue joint development.
So first and foremost, are you open to a possible joint exploration with China?
Actually, coincidentally, Pinky, yesterday we had a hearing in the Committee on Energy on energy security, and one of the reasons why we feel this fluctuations in the gasoline and diesel market is because of the international fluctuations also. So the concept here is dapat self-sufficiency tayo at may energy security tayo. And one of the strategies to pursue it is to drill more, to explore more, to find more wells, to find more oil and gas deposits here in our country. So as a concept, I'm open in exploring more. In fact, in the last 6 years, we haven't drilled any single well in the Philippines. Malaysia drills about 400 a year. Thailand about 200 a year.
What's 400 and 200?
Drilling.
I
No?
see.
So when you drill more, the concept there is when you drill more, there's a higher probability
You
of
find
discovering
Yeah, of
oil.
course.
No? But in our case, we're not drilling anything.
And why aren't we?
For many reasons. No? It came out in our hearing yesterday that the highest potential area in the Philippines is northwest of Palawan, no? And that area is within that disputed areas, and that's why we haven't been exploring a lot, no? Because the most potential area is under that disputed area.
Because we can't enter the area.
Because we cannot enter the area, or
Okay.
we cannot explore or do studies within the area.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. No?
So does it seem more plausible that indeed if we are to try to discover oil and gas that the best partner would be China, because indeed we won't have a problem?
Well, I think the best case is to explore it with anyone. No? Anyone who wants to explore it, they can partner with us. We don't have the advanced technical capability to do it. So we have to partner na rin, no? Like for example, Malampaya, that's a partnership with Shell and Chevron, no? Because they have the technical capability. So whoever wants to partner with us, we should partner with them.
Are you comfortable with partnering with China?
They have the technical capability, that's for one. They've been exploring and extracting oil and gas for many, many years already. And I haven't seen the terms and conditions being discussed.
Yeah.
But in concept, if they are willing to partner with us and explore in that area, then I'm open to pursuing that. The most basic concept here, or the most basic element, is it should comply with our constitution. And that means 60% of the proceeds, the net proceeds, should go to the Philippines. Exactly the same with the Malampaya deepwater gas project.
But what about possibly giving up sovereign rights if you actually conduct joint exploration with China?
Well, if they follow the minimum requirement on oil exploration in the Philippines, which is the constitutional requirement of 60% of the net proceeds
That's what
go
you were
with
talking
us,
about. Okay.
then I think that complies with our own legal requirements.
Okay, sir, just quickly also on energy, that was discussed, the foreign secretary was asked, Wang Yi, if China is willing to look into the, or invest in energy. And I know he said, yeah, they would look into
Renewables, I heard.
Yeah, he said solar, wind, hydro, even nuclear.
Correct.
Has there been any talk of any sort, sir?
I know Chinese have investing heavily in renewables, no? Because I think in the past they invested heavily in coal, and coal is now creating a lot of health problems. So they're investing heavily in renewables, and they want to bring that technology here to the Philippines. In the solar panel manufacturing, China now produces about 70 to 80% of the total global market. And they have the technical capability. And because anything that China produces, normally bumababa yung presyo. No? So the Philippines can now tap into that cheap resource. So again, no, as a concept, yeah. We can pursue tapping into China's renewable energy manufacturing base. So we can bring it into the Philippines.
Your tweet also said that importante ang kuryente for everyone, layunin ng Senate PH Committee on Energy, na maipatupad ang polisiya na magbibigay ng 24/7 na kuryente sa bawat Pilipino. So how soon must we partner, look into, have somebody else invest?
To date, Pinky, we have about 2.7 million households in the Philippines na walang kuryente. Total blackout, no? And
dami pa pala, no?
Marami pa, no? About 13 to 14% of our total population. So if we can give them cheap solar power,
yeah.
If we can give them cheap batteries, a lot of this itong 2.7 are in the islands, yeah. No, in the mountains. So it's very difficult to connect them through the grid. So the other concept there is to give them solar panels, give them batteries, so that it's cheaper to light them up, give them electricity, compared to running the ordinary grid extension to their houses.
Got it, sir. Okay, the Bureau of Customs, there will be a hearing again today by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee chaired by Senator Gordon on this shabu. Sir, you know, you have Isidro La Peña, who admitted that these magnetic litters, eventually he said that they indeed possibly contain drug shabu. The president said, I'm promoting you, I'm moving you to TESDA, and putting a military man in the BOC. First, sir, do you think it's the right move of the president to move Isidro La Peña to the TESDA and say it's a promotion? Did he deserve a promotion, even if some people don't think TESDA is a promotion?
Well, looking at the background of Commissioner La Peña, it seems to me that all his life he's been into enforcement. His core competency is to enforce, whether it's drug laws or custom laws. His core competency is to enforce, and he comes from a, if I'm not mistaken, military background also. TESDA is an education job, no?
Training skills, yeah.
You educate our children, you educate the youth. So medyo malayo sa kanyang responsibility, no? But he's a very intelligent man, no? So I hope he can adjust quickly and maximize the potential of TESDA, because TESDA is such an important, critical element in our education system. Marami tayong out-of-school youth, and we can use that to educate and to make our out-of-school youth productive citizens of our country.
I totally agree with you. It's TESDA is really important, especially because maraming umaasa dyan.
We cannot underestimate the
But you don't think he's the right man for the job?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. No, he's a very intelligent man, no, because he has the background. But in core competence niya, from my view, is totally different.
Yeah.
No? Law enforcement, education. No? These are very different core competencies.
But how do you feel that, you know, critics are saying that the president is already militarizing, you know, the very various agencies of the government, kung sino, marami na po siyang nilagay sa iba't ibang departamento.
Go back to customs, no? Because customs is a very controversial agency right now. We need to computerize and automate customs. No? The comprehensive, the Customs Modernization and Tariff Administration Law, no? The CMTA law, the heart and soul of that law is automation and computerization, and we haven't implemented that yet. I think less than 60% of the transactions in customs right now is considered automated and computerized. No? The rest are all mano-mano.
Yeah.
No? And as long as you have people intervention, human intervention, and people contact, you will have corruption. And so that, kaya if you look at the past administration, in the time of President Arroyo, there were about 4 different customs chief. The time ni President Aquino, I think there were 3 to 4 also. So it's a constant trigodon of people.
Yeah.
But you have to really go into the heart of the problem, which is human intervention, and we have to correct that.
And of course, also upgrading their equipment, such as the X-ray. Sir, but
Correct.
what do you think about a military man taking over the customs today?
I think I'm assuming that the president's looking at the management skills of a military officer. No? If you're a military officer, you have management skills because you manage a lot of people, no? And you have discipline in order to move those assets and move those people around. But their orientation is military, and customs is in many ways a revenue generating as well as a trade facilitator. So again, there's a divergent of core competencies.
Okay.
But again, we have to acknowledge that management is also a very important aspect of running an organization, and I think that's what the president wants to tap in, their management competency.
Do you think, as a last question, that the military, having the military take over the customs temporarily, as the president said, is a good idea or not?
In the short term, it might, assuming it's legal. No, there's also questions of legality. No, assuming it's legal, in the short term, it might bring order, but without implementing automation and computerization, it will fail. No?
All right. Thank you so much to Senator Win Gatchalian. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. A Japanese royalty gave it all up for love. That's for today's In Focus.